Hello, part 3 Amazon challenge. I'm about halfway through my Dieta and halfway through my month challenge here, and I figured I would throw on the camera and make a video. I'm getting really, I'm starting to really enjoy these kind of hammock chill videos, more so than before where I was shooting movies outside in nature and kind of stuff. And it is just so beautiful here, but it's not like back home where I can kind of just stick my camera in a tree and just shoot a movie and everything's hunky-dory. Here, I try to do that. I try to put some cool scenery in, but you stick the camera in a tree and you start getting attacked by mosquitoes, and then a red ant comes and starts eating your camera, and there's just this whole other diversity of plants and animals and insects that's involved, where back home it's like, oh, there's a good twig, put that in there. So yeah, I mean, another thing is I get to relax, which I've been just completely exhausted, which is kind of expected. Just today, 3 of us walked up to the village that's nearby. It's supposed to be like a 10-minute walk. I think it took us like half an hour to get there. It's hot, you're exhausted, you're not completely fueled. So first off, I made some mistakes in the last part of this series, which seems to be an ongoing trend, but hey, I'm translating from Spanish and it's just gonna kind of happen. So first off, I think I said I was dieting just one plant, which is albahaca, when it turns out I'm actually dieting 3 plants. For if you're really interested in this kind of diet and plant thing, I'm going to write out a whole description in part 2, just to kind of clarify the things I kind of mistakenly said. So, 3 plants, and whereas before I thought I was only going to be eating one meal, lunch, for 14 days straight, uh, very thankful to realize that the first 3 days I had one meal, and that was because I was dieting this plant and I had ceremony. So when you diet the plants, you don't eat breakfast, and when you have ceremony, you don't eat lunch, or you don't eat supper. I'm gonna mess this up already. You don't eat supper. So I had 3 days of just one meal, and then after that, everything resumes normally, 3 meals a day. But whenever you have ceremony, which is twice a week, you don't eat supper. So, just a horse. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but there's just a kind of horse just riding by. Pretty cool. So yeah, 3 days, one bale. Then you have a 14-day cycle total, where normal meals, 2 meals when you have ceremony. Then you diet the plants again. You kind of reset the cycle, which is what I'm starting right now at my halfway point. Today's day 2. I drank it this morning, and so I'll have lunch and supper today, which, oh my god, I can't wait for lunch, which is in like half an hour, so I'm gonna get this video done. So yeah, what's it been like so far? I think when I really originally started doing this challenge, I thought I was going to be telling you guys about my ayahuasca experiences and what was happening, and I can kind of see now that I don't really feel the need to, but I guess the best way of explaining it is when I'm in ceremony, they say that ayahuasca speaks to you in your own language, and I'm a very visual and kinesthetic person, so a lot of my ceremonies are extremely visual and very kinesthetic, where I'm moving around a lot, I'm vibrating, and things like that. So to put on a camera and just kind of talk about what happened just doesn't do it justice, and it's just too hard to explain, really. Too hard to put into words. And the other thing is, I know when I talk to someone else who has done ayahuasca, you can kind of relate your experiences, and that's like, it's a fun thing to do to share. But at the same time, it's kind of like when you're talking about these explosions of multitudes of colors and geometric shapes and patterns, and then someone else is listening to this, and for their ceremony they were just sitting in the dark. uh, it's kind of it's kind of unfair. It's so unique to the individual that everyone's experience is different, and like I said, it talks to you in your own language. So if you're someone who is very auditory, listens and likes to speak and talk with people, you might be just having thoughts and talking. So it's not only unique to the individual, but it's also so sporadic. So even me, as being visual and kinesthetic, I have certain ceremonies where there's all these visuals, and then the next one I'm just kind of sitting in the dark thinking. And it's everything and anything in between this, it's sporadic, it's this, it's that, it's hard to put into words. And I realize how a lot of this is going to sound to some people who might kind of have a Western mind. And I know that because I can think about if right now I was talking to myself 2 or 3 years ago and how this would kind of sound to me. And I'm always been pretty damn open. I think you have to be to come here in the first place. But I'll always kind of listen to what people have to say. And in the back of my head, I'm kind of like, that kind of sounds like bullshit. Or, I'm not really, I could see how that could be, but I'm not really vibing it yet. So bear with me here and keep an open mind. I'm going to bounce around from topic to topic. Sometimes I make these videos and I have a particular thing that I want to talk about, and maybe I'll write it out before. And other times I just press the friggin' record button and I just kind of rant. And whatever's on the top of my head. And I haven't really felt like making videos in the last while. It's been very challenging, and I've been concentrating on the work that I'm doing here. So I kind of have all these thoughts, and I'm just gonna pretty much rant at you guys. That's what's gonna happen here. So yeah, what can I say? So for the start of this whole process was pretty awesome. The first 3 ceremonies were great. They were beautiful. I felt just full of energy. I felt very creative. It's kind of what you hope to happen when you come do something like this. Kind of like awakening, for lack of a better term. And yeah, it was great. I thought that eating 1 meal a day was going to be really tough, but it actually wasn't that bad. 3 days, it wasn't that bad. So after that, my 4th ceremony was extremely tough, extremely painful, and just hard to kind of get through. And they have all kinds of little tips and stuff for you when you're in ceremony. And a common thing, which ayahuasca is kind of like life, and tips there for ayahuasca are just good tips for life. But they tell you consistently to concentrate on your breathing. Just take deep breath, breathe in, breathe out, calm yourself down. Sometimes, stuff is freaking scary. And you need to calm yourself down, you need to not hyperventilate, you need to and keep focused, keep concentrated on the task at hand. In this ceremony, I didn't do that. It was just kind of too painful, and I was concentrating on the pain, and it wasn't that enjoyable. And what's really great is I have a great group of people here that understand this medicine, understand how it works, and I could talk with them after, and they could kind of give me some insight to what they think is happening. And they've got years of experience with this, and it's just great to have them. So what they told me was it's a pretty common thing that ayahuasca or these other plants in general are going to test you. They're going to see if you're kind of strong enough to get through this process. I gotta think about like a chick giving you some sort of test, uh, testing your resiliency, and this is what it does. And they gave me some funny examples of other people's experiences where it's like they're holding a gun to their head and they're like, you don't need any more. Just stop. And you have to just be like, nope, like doing it, like whatever, threaten me, but I'm gonna do it. Another example they said where a guy in a ceremony was experiencing that ayahuasca was this big tractor and it was telling him to stop or it was going to run him over. And it's just some type of bullshit test, and that's what they kind of related my fourth ceremony experience to. So yeah, I kind of had 2 days where I felt druggy. I didn't get a lot of sleep that night. I was friggin' tired. So it was tough. And I rallied, I came back and felt better after. And my buddy gave me a really good example, which I wish I kind of asked him before I did this. I don't want to mess up any words here, but I'm sure you guys are used to it by now, and I can just edit it in the next series. So he told me about when he was in Indonesia, and he was doing what's called the Vipassana. Vipassana? Hope I'm saying that right. Probably not. And essentially what this is it's a retreat, kind of similar to this, but you're there for 10 days. There's lots of different ones, but this is just the particular one he was at. And I think it was 3 days they had to meditate for 10 hours straight. And there's different variations of this, like I said, where some places you're allowed to talk. In this particular one, you weren't allowed to talk. It was just meditation, no food, think water. Like I said, lots of variation. Point is, sounded just incredibly tough. Like, to me, that would be much tougher than what I'm doing here. Is 10 hours of meditation a day, not speaking to people, and, just 100% of the time in your own head. And I can definitely see the benefits, and, he kind of mentioned this would be a good challenge for you to do eventually. And hell, yeah, eventually. A couple years, 5, 10 maybe, I don't know, whatever. And he said how it was 10 days, and he was on the 7th day, and it was just it's tough. It didn't feel right for him. He didn't like the vibe there, and he kind of knew that maybe it was best for him to continue, but he just wanted to get out of there. And he had a meeting with one of the instructors there, and they said how when you're doing something like this, any type of kind of hard spiritual practice or process, whether that's ayahuasca, whether that's meditation, whether that's, there's so many things. He related it to kind of having surgery. And the idea of surgery is that this thing, you're doing it because it's going to heal you. It's going to fix whatever issues you may have. It's going to help you in your life. And when you're stopping a process, you're essentially doing half a surgery, and then you're saying, oh, I'm good, I'm done, this is too freaky, and you're bouncing. And you're doing yourself more harm than good by stopping the process. And what you have to do a lot of the time is finish the process. It's going to be tough, it's going to be hard, but you have to finish it. And the idea of quitting never really crossed my mind, but at the exact halfway point, which was 2 or 3 days ago, just during that day, I felt like I was just completely restless and completely bored. It's cool because you're in the jungle, but like I said, sometimes you're full of energy from ceremony, and other times it just zaps your energy, and you're friggin' hungry, and it's hot out. And I was tired, I was restless. I would try reading, I'd read for 5 minutes, I don't want to do that. I'd start kind of writing things down, I don't feel like doing that. I'd take my book, throw it. I start playing around with my iPod, listen to music, don't feel like listening to music. Try to watch a movie, watch 10 minutes, turn it off. And then I'd be like, okay, my mind's just all over the place, I need to meditate, I need to take control here. I'd start trying to meditate, and 7 minutes into meditating, I just turn it off. I was just restless and bored, and I felt anxious. And it was a night of ceremony, which could be completely common to feel nervous before ceremony. I mean, I remember feeling nervous before a soccer match, and this is kind of like you're going into like a match of life, and it's not like anything else, like that soccer match, or like going on a first date, or anything where nerves might be present, where you kind of know somewhat what to expect. You're going into complete and utter darkness. It could be the most amazing thing you've ever happened in your life. It could be painful. And you're just kind of marching in there because you know it's what's best for you. You know the benefits are positive. And you're going into the complete black abyss. And yeah, that can be nerve-wracking. So, felt like shit. uh, Felt like, I got a lot of benefit out of this already. Like, I would be cool with just piecing out. And I knew I wasn't going to do it, but, you just kind of, that's the feeling I was having. So yeah, his story about being in Indonesia and escaping, and he actually did end up leaving. The guy told him no boat was coming, he found a boat and got the hell out of there. And it was a pretty funny story, but the point is he kind of realized, and him sharing that with me helped me in that it is like sopping through surgery, and you got to keep on going, and you want the benefits from this. You don't want to put in the hard work and not only not receive those benefits, but receive something that might perhaps be harmful because you quit, because you stopped early. And yeah, so I had a tough day, and then I had ceremony, and it was the best friggin' ceremony I've had, and it was one of the coolest experiences I've had in my life, and I'm so glad that I did it. And I'm just looking at the time now, and I'm realizing, holy shit, this is a long video, but like I said, just getting these things kind of out. So there's so much I could say. Perhaps I'll end this soon, and I'll put this in part 4. How many parts this is going to have, I don't know. I originally thought 4, but we'll see what happens. So I'll kind of just tell you the end of that ceremony, because it was pretty cool. So I'm sitting there on my mat, and they actually have these kind of like half chairs here. I'll actually show you. So I'm talking to you guys, I'm just got my camera on the chair here. It's literally a chair like this, but without the legs. Am I actually showing this? Yeah. So it's a chair without the legs. And I see the buddy next to me, same guy that was telling you about the story about, kind of grabs his chair, he pulls it up. This is the end of ceremony. The Mariato is kind of wearing off. If you drink alcohol and you get drunk, then when you drink ayahuasca, you get Mariato. That's kind of the association I would make here. The difference is when you drink alcohol, you're becoming very unconscious, They kind of call it liquid courage. That's because you're unconscious of what the hell you're doing, and you're less conscious at least. And that's when you do stupid shit. That's when you do fun shit. That's when you do things you may not do in a sober state. But with this, it's like you're in a very, at least you have the possibility of being in a very conscious state. And that's kind of the goal here, is not to push yourself too far, like that fourth ceremony, uh, and be conscious and be able to work on yourself. So he pulls up his chair, and the last Incaros is happening. To explain a lot here. Incaros is chanting, which the mastros and maestras do. This is what they do during ceremony. So you're not only drinking ayahuasca. This ayahuasca is a piece of the puzzle. You have the mastros and maestros there, and they're chanting. And each person gets an individual chant from each mastro and maestro. And this is a major part of the healing. And I did an ayahuasca retreat before, about a year and a half ago, where same thing, there for a month. I wasn't doing the Dieta, but I kind of understand things a lot more now, and I'm still learning. There's a lot to learn. A lot to learn in this, a lot to learn in life. And it's kind of like every ceremony, I feel like I'm going into school of life. Uh, each ceremony I have the potential to learn more than I've pretty much learned in all my years of schooling combined. And, it's teaching you real things. It's teaching me things about life that I can actually use and apply in my life, rather than listening to some bullshit about Christopher Columbus being some great guy who sailed across the ocean and found new land. When this wasn't new, people lived there, and he murdered and raped a whole bunch of people. It's really fucked up, and you actually learn what happened. Anyway, it's beside the point. And a ceremony. He's chanting the Incaros, and it is beautiful, and it is awesome, and it's a beautiful end to a beautiful ceremony. And Buddy pulls up his chair, and he's sitting up in it, and he lights him a mapacho, and I pull up my chair, and I light my mapacho. Mapacho is pure tobacco. There's no chemicals in it, and the Shipibo believe that it gives you protection during ceremony, which, remember, I know all this all sounds if you haven't worked with this stuff before, but like I said, I'm just learning more and more, and we light up our mapacho, and we're kind of just smoking on our seats, and we're listening to this beautiful Incaros, this beautiful chanting, and I kind of just thought about, like, there's another one of our buddies too who's lighting up his mapacho, and all three of us are just kind of enjoying it. And I was just like, man, like, sorry, I guess I can only shoot so much video, but yeah, we were just sitting there watching this, and I was like, man, we just got like front row seats to the best show in the universe, and just completely present, completely enjoying ourselves. And I felt like we were just like three amigos sitting on our porches, all next door neighbors, watching some sort of awesome concert. And it was just such a cool way to end the ceremony. And I don't want to say I've been on a high. Do you realize the shirt? But I didn't want to say I was on a high since that ceremony, but because I feel like it's not a high, it's a way of life. And it's just becoming awakening to that way of life, of just enjoying every little present moment. And it's all these little things that teach you this. Like, I'm about to go enjoy the baddest, best ass lunch ever. And that's because I've been a little deprived of food. And that's also because I've been enjoying myself here overall. I can say how I had these painful experiences, but the whole thing's just been massively enjoyable. And I think I'm in a very unique place in the world, and a very unique opportunity. And I can go on and on and on about this. But yeah, it's just funny how, like, I'm gonna go eat a couple eggs, some cabbage, and potato. And it's gonna be the best thing ever. And that's something I would just never say before. And I'm really just grateful to have this opportunity. And I'm rambling on, so I'm gonna end the video here. And yeah, part 4, I'll dive into more of this. I usually watch these back, and I'm like, oh, I gotta explain like this, and this. So, yeah, look forward to it, and talk later. Peace.